Yeah, my mechanic found a GPS tracker under my car.
No way.
Yeah. I was gone for 3 days, and then they just found it in a parking lot. I didn't even know what it was. Just like a black little magnet box thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Hi, and welcome to the Flat Bill Investors Podcast. I'm Josh Zaglowski.
And I'm Zach Spencer. We are blessed today, Josh, to have a dynamic duo. We've got the brains and the bronze here visiting us today. We've got a particular gentleman who has flipped over 1,000 homes in Utah. If you don't know what house flipping is, go ahead and Google Flipping Friday, and you'll see his name. You'll see his face. We also have, this is John Max.
And we've checked everything. They've done that many
We have
many
checked.
houses.
We have the professional fact checkers today. And then we've got David Klein, who is, I would say, I said the brains and the bronze. Which one would you say you are?
So I'm the bronze?
Definitely the brains. Definitely the brains.
All right, we got the brains and the bronze. We've got John Maxim and Dave Klein. They run the Utah Treasure Hunt and also Flipping Friday. And I have to say, it's really quite a thrill to meet you. So one question we always like to ask is, how do we know you? Where would we have met you? Josh, I know you and John have some history. I've got some history. Actually, I found out that my niece's college roommate is Dave's wife. Did you know? Do you know? I think you were in a different planet the day we met. That's two things today that I've said. So my niece is Haley. That was your wife's.
Haley Masoner?
Haley Masoner. Well, Fuller now.
No way.
Yeah, name drop. There you go.
Wow.
So there you go.
The very first time I met my wife, actually, we took Haley Masoner, my wife, and their other Haley roommate rock climbing for our very first sort of date. But
smallish world when you're in Utah. So love it. So there you go.
Yeah, I actually met Dave through John. And actually, I don't know if you remember this, John, but I was actually John's arm wrestling coach when I first met him.
That's true. We went to lunch. I was doing a charity arm wrestle.
Oh, this is a real story.
It's a real story with Mike Baird.
Down in Mexico with Mike Baird, and Josh gave me a few pointers, and then you actually refereed the match as well.
Yeah, I mean, just joking with my wife, like I was telling her, like I'm going to this lunch. I don't know this guy. He has a show called Flippin' Friday, and I watch him on Instagram, and we've just talked about getting together. And I mean, we got to know each other through lunch, but at the very end, we were just talking about the arm wrestle, and we did a picture for everyone that was going to come down to Mexico.
Who do you think won the match?
Between you and who?
Mike Baird.
Mike Baird.
Oh, I mean, should I be nice? Should I be gentle with you?
The guy's ripped. He's huge.
I'm guessing Mike then.
No,
me. You beat him.
Mr. John won.
You must have had a good coach.
Yeah. I did. I had a great coach, Josh.
And I was the referee, so maybe I swayed a little bit.
Well, you are the bronze. John packs a punch. I mean, we climbed Kilimanjaro a year ago, and I thought I would out hike him, but someone in that peak, he was hiking, days over me. So
there you go. It's awesome.
I mean, when you're hiking, well, not hiking, when you're going upstairs, crappy houses in sandals, you use those calves and legs a lot.
There you go. Yes.
You have no cushion in those shoes.
Yeah, year round.
And the reason why I joke about that is John, until last week, I don't think I ever saw him not wear sandals until last week when we went to a dinner, and he actually suited up and he had shoes.
I know we pulled up and I was like,
shoes.
wait, what?
Church shoes.
I didn't even know you owned those.
Yeah.
So later
he even
on,
mentioned, he goes, I don't even have Levi's.
Later
I have
on,
church clothes and
like
shorts
seeing a
and
unicorn.
sandals.
Later on, I found out that he would have rather been wearing sandals. So
I would have.
He made that mention to me.
flip-flops.
Well, and we were joking. So I met John back in Vegas. Actually, it was because of you, Josh. We went to a mastermind in Las Vegas. I think that was the first time I met you.
Oh, yeah.
And
we walked through my house with all the bees.
We did. Okay, there was a house there. Did you? Oh, you weren't there.
I know you guys went there. I didn't go there that day.
We walked through a house that was being flipped, and there were probably, I don't know, a few thousand dead bees inside.
Like a whole hive.
Luckily dead, but there were a lot of bees in there. And he said, hey, careful, there's bees. But when we went in, they were all dead. So that's Las Vegas. They needed some pest control. Who knows?
So how do you guys know each other?
We met through real estate investing. Dave was doing wholesaling for a while, and
John was our buyer of last resort. So if there was a deal that nobody on the planet wanted, I would call John. And that's how we became friends. So we knew each other professionally before we became friends. And then when we had this idea for the treasure hunt, I was going through my phone list, and I didn't know him very well at the time, but he was the only person that I could think of, just from what I'd seen of him in our short conversations, that he'd be willing to go hide money in the mountains and then never see it again. So very, same wavelength, I
He knew
guess.
how
I don't
d-
know.
He could tell how dumb I was.
Yeah, right.
And creative.
Yeah.
John, very creative dude. It's funny, but how I know John is through that, obviously, like we talked about with the arm wrestle. But then when we came home, we got to know each other down in Mexico quite a bit. But then when we came back, I had this this idea of like having a entrepreneurs like card game. And I realized like I don't know that many residential flippers. I knew commercial guys and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of relied on John, like, hey, you and I know each other, but you know a lot more people than I do. You want to invite him? And I live clear in Layton. And I mean, there was even a dude, I won't say his name, but all the way from Lehigh that came.
Oh, wow.
So John, he corralled them in and then ended up being a really fun opportunity. Got to know a lot of people through that.
Yeah, we've had some fun adventures. I was just joking with these guys earlier. We went to a building, the commercial flip, and I flipped a switch on a breaker and had a near death experience.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, I'll jog your memory. I almost died.
Well, now that you mention
That was
it,
scary,
I
man.
mean, I was like 50 feet away, and I felt like a concussion grenade just went off. 'cause
I
my
don't
lungs-
know how many volts it was, but it was a lot. And luckily they didn't hit me, but it was very loud.
Did you have hair before that?
I did. And well, what happened is, just kidding. I don't have time for haircuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Be gentle with me. All right. So there you go.
So I'm kind of curious on this, John, is why did you start Flippin' Friday? And by the way, let me kind of preface that. People that don't know what Flippin' Friday is, John's handle is on the John. This guy's humor is every Friday.
You should see the name of his LLCs.
Most Fridays.
No,
Most
you
Fridays.
should see the name of his
That's very
LLCs.
true.
also
Most
has-
Fridays, it's a humorous show on Instagram video that you watch. And it's funny, and it's also like kind of in the trenches of what he's doing pretty much every day, but he shows it on Friday. So why'd you start it, and how long ago did you start it?
I started it, I think, in 2019, and it was just, one day I did a post, and I said, people keep telling me I need to post more of this, you being one of them, actually. And you were even one of the people that commented, but I just... I've always been kind of anti the influencer, and house flippers are always, they're very the same, showing the big before and afters and all the great stuff. And so I just thought I'm going to just show kind of the anti of that and just the minutia of house flipping. And I showed all the failures and like a hive of bees coming after me and all this stuff on a house I lost money on. And the response was massive. Like I couldn't believe how many people, I didn't get a ton of followers, but everyone that did follow me, they gave lots of feedback like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. You should do this. And so then I just started doing it more just because people gave me some compliments.
Yay.
It's funny how that works. Like my son, we used to live in Layton. We live in Mountain Green now. We were over at the Ellison skate park, and there's kids that were sitting there filming. This was, probably 3-4 years ago. And just kind of beefing them up in TikTok and stuff like that. And he would show me the different videos. And I think that's why I kind of said something like, hey, you should show more because, all that
We always
crazy
think about,
stuff is
people
entertaining.
Don't, like, who's the guy who he talks about, like restaurants post, you can't just post a picture of like your meal every week. Like you're going to run out of content real fast. Talk about like Red Bull. They don't ever like post a picture of like a Red Bull can. It's just somebody jumping out of a plane without a parachute. That gets the attention. And so I think, your life, John, is what I'm trying to say is like watching somebody jump out of a plane without a parachute. It's interesting to watch.
That's one of the things that really endeared. Before I even knew John, he did some of these events where he would speak about real estate. And in this business of real estate, it's a very kind of macho alpha where you get up there and you beat your chest. You talk about all these massive wins you've had. And John he's the only person I've ever met that takes the exact opposite approach. And he's like, hey, yeah, there was this one time where we had to dig a hole and the neighbor's house started falling into the hole we dug, and it was just so fun. I was in tears. I was laughing. I mean, he could be a stand-up comic, which
For sure.
just
He's got a lot of material.
yeah, with just the material that
but
he
I mean,
has.
this has led into like a lot of cool things. Am I allowed to mention like a show that you guys are working on?
Yeah, you can't
well,
say
technically
the
we can't say
name
the
of the
name
network.
of the, but we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's led into things like even some bigger opportunities that are cool, and which also started you into the treasure hunt, which is a pretty cool thing. I mean, I've just watched as I see people getting out and doing things and like just being out and about, doing the treasure hunt stuff. Which
Dave,
is
what
pretty
did you
cool.
do before real estate investing?
Well, I was at Utah State, met my wife up there. My only goal in life was to have as much fun as possible until I got married. And then it's like, wow, I'm responsible for another human being. I'm like, we're responsible for each other. And then I was actually a software engineer for 3 years for a startup, and they went under. And I always loved real estate. So saw some Facebook posts from some really successful local guys. And,
Dave's mastered what I like to call being frugal retired, where when I met him, like he moved to Vietnam to just go live there. And when he pitched me on the treasure, I'm like, well, what are you doing? You still selling real estate? And he's like, no, I got all these little things. And he's like, he wrote a book and he's makes money on that. And he sells coins on Amazon. All these things create enough passive income. And him and his wife just sat down and said, this is how much we need to live. And once they hit that goal, they moved to Vietnam. And that's still to this day.
That's
still
how many people you talk to that like have the goal of doing that, and like you've done it.
I've talked to maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, not that much.
And the thing that we discovered is that it's a lot less than people think. If you go on the street and you ask the average person, like, how much money did you retire? They're going to say, actually there was an article in the Wall Street Journal. It was like $3 million is what, like our generation thinks. But for us, it was like $5,000 a month. If we could get $5,000 a month passive, we're done. I mean, that was before we had 4 kids and before like inflation just doubled the price of everything. But this is back in like 2019.
Yeah.
So we hit our $5,000 a month, and it's like, you know what? Where could we live? Somewhere awesome. It's like, well, let's skip the winter here in Utah because we're not huge fans of winter. And so we moved to Vietnam, and that was right when COVID hit, which is a whole nother massive.
And that's where the treasure hunt story.
Yeah, and that's kind
started.
of
that's how it started.
That's where the original idea came from.
Yeah, it's funny. There's some of us that are like, hey, when we've really made it, we'll get lagoon passes. Like we can afford that this year.
Yes.
It's amazing. All 5 of us can go as much as we want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's been going
fun.
up every year too.
Yeah.
So what year did you guys start talk about the treasure hunt and actually do it? A couple years before you started
2020, because it was right when right in the midst
throes
of
of
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah, when everyone was locked down, and that was kind of the whole genesis of the ideas. I got back to the States barely. It was like the first time I came back to the U.S. and you could just like sense the whole morale of society was just down. Everyone was nervous and suspicious of each other, and it was like, man, I think the treasure hunt would be such a cool idea to get people outside safely. And that's when I mentioned it to my wife, and she's like, because I wanted to do $5,000 the first time, and she's like, yeah, there's no way that you're just burying $5,000, so you have to find someone to split it with you. And that's when I went through my phone and I was like, John Maxim, something about that name.
He'll throw out some money.
Yeah.
So-
He'll
So you started with $5,000? Somehow I thought it was more.
Okay, and here's the actual question that I know that I have is, do you actually put all $5,000, or is like an IOU in there that says like, you found it, now call us?
Here's
That's
our
a great
QR code.
question. That first year, I think we did put
We did.
5,000
We put
in.
all the cash in the chest.
That is
the
so wild.
Oh, you don't do that
couple
anymore?
years.
I thought you do that every time.
We don't. No, we don't do it anymore. Just for a couple of reasons. Liability is a couple, and
Well, this last one was out there for 3 months, and could you imagine like a squirrel or like a rat getting in there and
and
like
just eating
shredding
it?
$25,000?
Well, that's why I was curious. I was
like
like, man,
making
it's
a
just
nest out of
chilling
it.
out there.
So it just lets us sleep better at night when it's
one
not
year
the whole
we
amount.
buried it in the sand, and there was a water table that we didn't know about.
Oh, no.
And when they pulled the chest out, it was just sloshing all around. And they were telling us how they got advice from their grandma on how to dry out money because she somehow knew how to do that.
Yeah.
was
They
like
put it in their dryer,
mafia
so it
or
looked like
something.
money laundering. But it
Yeah.
I was
was
going to say, I think when they talked about laundering the money, she didn't mean drying out dollar bills.
So what do you do now then?
We put a portion of the cash in and have a note for them to contact us. The other thing is when we started the treasure hunt, there was this big treasure hunt, the Forest Fen treasure hunt, which a lot of people have heard about. And it went on for like 10 years. People died, like tons of people did it, but it got over and like there was no one knew the answer. They didn't tell you where it was found or anything. And so it's important for us. We've always said like everyone should be able to do it. It should be free and there should be a resolution. Like they should know who found the treasure, where it was found, how all the clues lined up and everything. So there's never any question about it.
Well, it was cool. We were at dinner the other night and you're like, oh yeah, we did the treasure hunt. And the lady at the table was like, oh, it was my daughter-in-law or my daughter and son-in-law that found it.
Yeah.
That was,
No way.
oh, you didn't know that maybe?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
Josh
you
was
didn't
at a
tell me
different
that.
table. So yeah, we just were talking to this lady and she was like, oh yeah, it was my kids found it.
Wow.
And so it really was like a huge blessing for them, which I think that is one of the coolest things about the treasure hunt is that it's like not a nominal amount of money. It's not like $100 or $500, which, could do a little bit of good. Like you're doing thousands and thousands of dollars. Like do you actually know how many like dollars to date you've hidden?
Well, there's some overhead to the hunts now that especially we've gotten bigger and more complex, but I think we're at about 250,000
Jeez.
that we've invested.
over the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's
contributed, thrown
I mean,
away.
that's-
I don't know.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Well, I mean, people love it. I
Yeah,
mean,
what-
that go to it all the time. And I have to describe like, well, you know, the guys that do the treasure hunt. And
Yeah.
when they're like, what treasure hunt? And then you have to describe it. And they're like, oh yeah, that one. I see it on the news sometimes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so it's definitely a popular thing here in the Wasatch Front.
Super popular. I was gonna say, what's been like? I guess like we always talk about starting with the end in mind. Like, what's the goal of the treasure hunt? What are you trying to accomplish? Is it just
When we started, it was really just COVID sucks. This is fun.
Help
We
you get
loved
out.
Indiana Jones and the Goonies. Like everyone in the world should be able to go on a treasure hunt. We should do this.
And we're
That's
like
all it
we're
was.
kids that never have grown up. you
And
know?
we're,
Yeah.
we got Peter Pan syndrome.
we're
for sure.
hiking up to the mountains laughing about how we're going to bury this treasure chest and nobody's going to come. We're going to come back up here in 3 months because no one's going to even do it or try it. Like we really had no idea. But then even at the first hunt, it was even kind of short because we really underestimated how smart people in the internet are. And we just saw the impact it had on people. Like people are losing all this weight. They're going out, they're getting together with their families. Like we're getting all these messages. It's turned into, I always say to Dave, like I almost feel like we can't quit this. Even we've had a pretty rough year in real estate this year where it didn't make sense for us to go donate, $25,000 or $50,000 to these treasure hunts, but it just has a huge impact on people, positive impact. Like some of the stories are crazy.
Yeah, well, I've just seen like there's some days where it's like you're tagged post after post after post after post, and it's people that they're like out doing stuff, and it's pretty cool, and to see where people are at in Utah. I mean, they're primarily like just inside of Utah, right?
Yeah.
There's people that visit
Yeah, it's people that are
outside
like
of Utah.
Yeah,
You
we've
know-
had international people fly in to look for it. It's crazy. I mean, we never
That
knew
is
that it
cool.
would turn into this whole thing, but
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, it's pretty amazing, honestly. So that's great. Congrats for you guys. That's cool.
yeah, I'd say after 5 years and $250,000, I dare say we have the right man, gentlemen.
The right man,
he's a
John.
good-
John Max,
he's the perfect friend
the
to do
right
this.
guy. No,
Yeah.
that's and I'm sure you two have come together on a level you probably didn't expect either when you first met each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make a considerable difference for me having someone with me on whom I can rely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like really, and that's with the treasure hunt, especially because we can't tell anybody about the treasure.
I was going to say,
Only-
like,
only the
how's your
two of
friends and
us know.
family? Anyone always trying to get out of you, or they just stopped doing that a long time ago?
I think most of them have stopped now because they know that we're a vault. Because it's, the fun of knowing where the treasure is. I mean, it's pressure. I would say, Dave. I don't know about you, but it's kind of fun knowing where it is. But it would ruin the hunt if we ever leaked or let anything out ahead of time.
Well, I know that
Yeah.
I've even been. We posted a story a few years ago just on Instagram. John and I did, and I was getting messages that were like, "Hey, see if you can get a clue, or see if you can find out where it is." So,
I got that 2 or 3 years ago. I haven't gotten it for a while, but
People just
I
know.
would like text it over to John, like, this person's hitting me up.
Maybe
Yeah.
just know the integrity of the whole hunt.
Even
would be flawed.
people like out of our circle, like they're starting to get DMs from people.
Mhm.
So we got to be careful who we tag, and yeah, it's crazy. And then of course we have, GPS devices on our cars that people have placed. I mean, it's gotten pretty crazy over the years, but
On your car? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
Oh,
GPS tracker.
I heard this story the other night too. Oh, you were at a different table. Yeah, that's my bad.
Yeah, my mechanic found a GPS tracker under my car.
No way.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
my
because
gosh.
the story is your car got stolen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I was gone for 3 days, and then they just found it in a parking lot. So,
but nothing wrong with it. It was
No.
just like the car had been stolen.
nothing
and then
taken out
left.
of it or anything. Yeah.
But it was and again, the mechanic was basically like, "Hey, just so you know, like whoever installed this for you did a terrible job. It's gonna fall off." And he's like, "Installed what?"
Yeah. I didn't even know what it was. Just like a black little like magnet box thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So if you see anybody driving a little red Mazda Miata, that's John's.
I
Put it
mean,
on that one.
For that reason, we go to great lengths during the treasure hunt to disguise ourselves. We're always trading cars. We're using burner phone. Like we go all out.
It's like a CIA operation to hide a
Man
treasure
of
these days.
mystery.
How
Yeah.
long is the longest one been? 3 months?
I think it's 57 days.
Almost 2 months, I think,
Yeah.
is our longest.
And now are you doing 1 or 2 a year? Because you just did one in the summer, right?
We do 2 a year, and then we have experimental hunts. We've done 3 or 4 experiments. So we could say we do 3 a year, but this year we're only doing the 2.
Yeah.
We did one where we went up to Mount Kilimanjaro, and another one that was kind of like the Amazing Race, where we took 3 days and went down. So we're just having fun, like trying to figure out cool ways to
I love
let
I love
adults be treasure hunters. you know?
Well, and I love that you say Peter Pan syndrome. I think a lot of people have that and don't have an outlet to like use it.
Yeah.
So going on a treasure hunt, that is pretty cool.
Well, and it's crazy just to think how we started, that one hiking with our little shovels behind our back that first year to now we just wrapped up the pilot for a TV show. We actually went up to Ogden to a factory called Coleman Mills that had a history with a house that we flipped. It's crazy just what it's turned into. We had no idea when we started that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
John and I went to the BYU football game on Saturday. And
Which, by the way, what a game.
it was a good game.
It was incredible. He's invited me 2 or 3 times, and I'm always unable to go.
I know.
I'm usually doing something dumb, like at the Clinton Rec Center doing swim lessons with my kids or something. But finally, I could go.
You're with your kids a lot. It's great.
I know. Finally, I could go to the BYU game, and then it was that game, And I was actually down getting snacks when that super play.
Oh, you missed the return?
No, he saw it. He was right there.
I was right there, and he ran right. Dude, it was.
That was crazy.
Lucky.
Yeah, the highlights of that were awesome. I mean,
what I was gonna say is like I'm like walking with them and stuff, and I mean people are stopping them because they recognize them from the hunt.
Yeah.
So
I mean, us
these guys are
we
celebrities.
carry a certain air about us. I mean, it happens. So no, that's good. Well, I love it. Well, I mean, the real question is, if people want to get involved in the hunt, I mean, how could I get involved? Can I be involved with donating? I mean, or even just finding it? Like, how do we find you guys? How can we
be a
get
hunter?
involved?
I mean, is there a website? How do people get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. This year especially, we've actually really reached out to sponsors. Our email list has almost 80,000 people on it now, and like all of them live between Ogden and Provo because these hunts have been super local. And so we've actually had a lot of treasure hunters that own companies that have actually offered, to sponsor. But yeah, I mean, this is nonprofit. We don't make any money off of these. Like John said, over the last 5 years, we've spent probably $250,000, and we've probably got maybe 80 of that have been sponsors. So it's mostly come out of our pockets. But so if you have a company or a brand that you want to, partner with us, that'd be awesome.
And yeah, like Dave's saying about the sponsors, the other cool thing is we can, in some of our hunts, we can create clues specific to the sponsors. And we just want you guys to know that the people who sponsor us, like follow them, support them, like these guys, for example. Like these guys are helping us out, and they would do it even without sponsors because we've been friends for a long time. But I appreciate what they're doing, and I love their podcast and all the stuff that they're learning. So as you treasure hunters know, like the treasure hunts are possible because of the people that support us. So support them back.
For the majority of people, I think a big kind of tenet that we follow is we want to keep these hunts free for everybody. So there's no sign up, there's no fees, there's no anything that you have to do. It's just, get with your family, look at the clues, and try and solve it.
Yeah, see, where would I even find like the first clues? Like, I don't even know what's going on.
You follow us on Instagram.
Okay. What are those handles? I guess we'll put these in the description too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's on the John.
Yeah, mine's the Klein fam.
Okay.
But
and then we have a website. Yeah. Utah Treasure Hunts, plural. UtahTreasureHunts.com.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put that down there too.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, guys. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, John. Appreciate the time, and learning more about the Utah Treasure Hunt and what you guys can do, to get out, get some exercise, especially now that the fall's coming out.
Yeah, love it. Well, appreciate you guys being on. And as we at the Flat Bill Investor always say,
invest in your future,
invest in yourself, and the same time next week.